Hey there, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Pinal Prep Spotlight, brought to you by 911 Air Repair, your local air conditioning experts specializing in maintenance, repair, and new installations. This is our playoff edition. We officially somewhat know some of our matchups. We don't know some of our other matchups, so we're going to start with the ones that we do know happening later on the week. Last week we spoke about our 3A teams like Coolidge, Florence, Santan Foothills. Coolidge and Florence did make it, Santan Foothills did not, and Coolidge and Florence play their first game on Wednesday, so we're just going to bypass them because we already spoke about them last week. So, as I mentioned, the matchups we do know, we got to start with our 4A conference, starting off with girls, and that is Post and Butte. The Broncos play on Thursday. They will be at number 15, Surprise Paradise Honors. And David, what can you say about this Post and Butte team?
I mean, it's been the same thing that it's ever been since Savannah Bix came into this program, and that it's defense rules all. This team is just an absolutely relentless on the defensive side of the ball. They are a really solid team when it comes to that aspect. Their offense still has a lot to be left desired, though. They're still trying to find themselves and still trying to figure out what they can do on offense and what plays they can run that can be successful. But on the defensive side of things, they're going to be just as good as ever. They're going up against Paradise Honors, and this was a game that we saw them play in the regular season where Paradise Honors took the win 39-29. And I think that it's going to be another low-scoring kind of game. These two teams are fairly evenly matched. Post and Butte comes in as the 20 seed. Paradise Honors is the 15 seed. So I think Post and Butte just has to rely on what makes this team go, and that's Samira Gray. It's been her team since she got here, since the seniors have just kind of taken over. She's taken over that role as the team leader, and she's just been an absolute star for them. Savannah Vick just has a plethora of athletes on this team. Last time I spoke to her, she talked about how this team shares a lot of athletes with other sports, and they kind of get the best of the best when it comes to other athletes and from other sports, and they get on the basketball court and they just let them use that to their advantage. Perfect example of that is Julia Harris. She's a track star for them, and she's been a really good bench and starting piece for them as well. Their freshman Milan Silvera, she's done a really good job. She's got 8 points per game so far this season. She's done a really good job. She's kind of she's willing herself into a big role for this team. Girls like Autumn Thomas as well. This team is just really solid. It's just going to depend on what kind of team shows up, especially on the offensive side of the ball. The defensive pressure is always going to be there, but the offense is definitely going to be the question for this game. If they're able to get a couple sets and have their defense lead to more offense, that's the exact rule book they want to go with. So I think Savannah Vix is going to do a great job with this team. Just comes down to what team shows up on this game night.
Looking at Paradise Honors, they've pretty much been a constant playoff contender ever since making the jump up from 3A during the 2020-21 season. And the girl that makes this team goes this year is Morgan Van Dyke. She is averaging 15.5 points per game for Paradise Honors. She pretty much leads the team in every category. So, hey, if I'm Post and Butte, I'm going to lock this girl up and try to make somebody else beat me. Like David mentioned, the big question is on offense. What can they bring to this game to make sure that they keep on building off of this year's success with such a young team that Post and Butte has. Moving on to our next game, we are sticking in 4A, going over to the boys' side, and that is number 23 Combs. They will be at Mesa Eastmark on Friday. And David, what can you say about this Combs team?
I'm just really happy they made the playoffs here. I think this is a team that has been through a lot of struggles this year, especially with what they've been going through with the unfortunate death of Preston Lord with this team. And this team deserves this spotlight, and I think they are going to just try and continue to rise to the occasion here. Coach Graham has done an amazing job with this group. He's been a legend in Arizona's high school basketball for a while. He's taken over this team and has kind of just started to fill in the pieces, and they've done a really good job of plugging in guys that are just really solid shooters. They have amazing wing offense here with a lot of 3-and-D guys that are really good at shooting and getting those good shots, but also their shooting is so good that it also spreads the floor a little bit and gives them looks inside as well. I really like this team. I think they just kind of have to find that edge and really focus on what they're going to do here in this playoff matchup. But I hope for the best for them. I really like this team, and I think Coach Graham is definitely cooking on something here in Santan Valley.
So these two teams met during the regular season, and they split their games. First game was back on January 10th. Combs lost 85-67, but then they played again on January 23rd, and they won that one 65-56. So the big question here is which Combs team is going to show up? Are they going to be able to pressure Eastmark like they did in that second game? Looking at Eastmark, they are led by Timothy Gorham, 22.2 points per game, 8.5 rebounds. He's shooting 53% from the field, and then another big playmaker here is Rise Walcott, 15.4 points per game, and he's shooting 41% from 3-point range. And the key here is that Eastport can go either way with these two guys. You know, if you lock one up, you're going to have the other one. So Combs is going to have their hands full here. And we'll just have to see how this one turns out. Sticking with our Friday games, we are looking at the girls bracket in 3A. This is going to be the second round, and that is Coolidge. They secured the number 8 seed, so they bypassed that first round, and they will host the winner of Tucson Push Ridge and Waddell ALA West Foothills. Looking at Coolidge, I have been dying to talk about this team all season long since we did our kind of season preview for girls basketball, and this Coolidge team is pretty much... they will throw everything but the kitchen sink at you. And a big reason for that are their two sophomores in Alasia White and Alyssa Charles. They have done a phenomenal job. White is almost averaging a triple-double for the Bears. 20.1 points per game, 13.4 rebounds, 8.2 steals, and Alyssa Charles is adding 12.5 rebounds. A big reason for Coolidge's success this year is those two plus Amira Miguel, a junior on the team. They just feed off of each other and work real well. They pressure opponents, and when one of them is pressuring, hey, another one is going to come out from nowhere and steal the ball, and that leads to a lot of their breakaway points, which is a big key to their success. In the past couple of weeks, Coolidge only has 2 losses. One of them was a forfeit, unfortunately, against Miami. It was a Saturday game, and they just didn't have enough girls available. The other one was just a few weeks ago. It was against number 4 Valley Christian, 44-42, and Coolidge had that game in the bag, except they just couldn't hold on to it. So I'm expecting a lot of big things from this Coolidge team. I'm excited to see how far they'll get into the playoffs. And hey, to top things off, head coach Aaron Monteverde is looking for that elusive first postseason win. So we will have to wait and see if that happens. Moving on to the boys' side, happening on Saturday, that is number 5 ALA Ironwood, and they will host the winner of Scottsdale Christian and Fountain Hills. David, what can you say about this Warriors team?
Well, Maria's been dying to talk about Coolidge girls. I've been dying to talk about ALA Ironwood because this is one of my favorite teams out there. I think they're one of the most talented, and they just have a really solid group of seniors that have been carrying the way so far. And this has kind of been a long time coming for this team. It started 2 years ago when they were bounced out early by Valley Christian. It was elevated last year when they were able to make it to the semifinals and having some big upsets on the way, like a undefeated Fountain Hills team that they played last year in the playoffs. Unfortunately, kind of cut short against Monument Valley on a buzzer beater last year. So this is the culmination of this team, and it's really going to be, this is the make or break year for them. They have a lot of seniors, all these guys, Chad Copeland, Jackson Edgerton, Jackson Chapman, all these guys are seniors, and they have been carrying this team so far this year. So there's a little bit of pressure on the Warriors here to get it done and get a good playoff run and possibly even bring home a state championship. So it's really going to come down to the matchups and who they face up with. If they're continuing to kind of get through and get past whoever they play, they're either going to play Fountain Hills, like I mentioned, or Scottsdale Christian. So it really is just going to come down to the rest of the matchups. Once we get past this round, if they're able to get there, they could possibly end up facing Valley Christian once again. It's going to be a quick question of, can a Pinal County team actually get past the Trojans? They've always been a heel on the team's side here, but I just really like this team. I think they're going to continue to try to mose their way through, possibly make a semifinals appearance, and if the stars align, they could possibly make a finals appearance and bring a 3A state title back to ALA Ironwood. I like this team.
Speaking of Valley Christian, we also got to highlight our other games that are happening on Wednesday, as I mentioned. So if Florence wins, they will also play on Saturday. They will be at number 1 Chandler Valley Christian, and also Coolidge boys. If they win on Wednesday, they will be at number 8 Chinley. So be on the lookout for all of our winter sports coverage. As always, check out Pinal Central. And also, we have a hectic weekend. We have the state championship wrestling matches, so we will be there as well.